everybody, welcome to Alien Gear Holsters AGTV Network here on Facebook. It's live. Andrew, I can hear your phone. You got the intro going. We love it. Hey, look who is here, everybody. It's Andrew Branca, the attorney who wrote the book, The Law of Self-Defense. And boy, do we got some good news for you today. We're celebrating episode 201. We got a whole bunch of cool stuff to give away to you today as well. And we're going to save that for a later moment. But trust me, you don't want to go anywhere. You're gonna want to hear what we have to say. Andrew is being extremely nice to every single one of you. So we're going to wait. You have to stay tuned to find out. You know what it is. It's Wednesday. It's Calling the Shots, your favorite show of the week. And you know what time it is? It's time to fire away. Alrighty, Andrew, thank you for being here once again every week. It's such a pleasure, and we have some great videos. Thank you for supplying those videos as well. I think we got the audio figured out, folks, so don't worry. We got it covered.
Here's hoping.
Here's hoping. I think we figured it out, so I think we're good. Thank you all for being here. You know what it is. I got to tell you, first of all, if you have specific questions that you want to get answered, maybe you want us to cover certain things or videos, please visit lawofselfdefense.com/CTS. We're calling the shots right there. There will be a link, I believe, where they can email you directly. Correct, Andrew?
That's correct, or they can just remember CTS at lawofselfdefense.com.
CTS at lawofselfdefense.com. That's the email address you're going to want to email those ideas and videos to as well. Also, before we get started, I also want to remind you there is a raffle. You're going to get the Defensive Property DVD. Is that correct? In the raffle when you sign up this week?
The winner next week will get the Defensive Property. It's actually an online course, but this is the course. We have it both DVD and online. The winner from last week actually won the Level 1 Core class, and I have his name here. It's David E., from New York. So David E. will be contacting you by email to register you for the online version of this course right after the show today.
Congratulations, David, and thank you all for signing up for that as well. All right, we've got some videos to get to. We might as well get started. Let's do this.
Okay, so this one is a robbery in a pharmacy. We see the two bad guys coming in here. Threatening with guns. The pharmacist, however, turns out he has a gun too. So he starts firing rounds back. He strikes one of the robbers. The other robber runs out of the store. The pharmacist pursues briefly, walks out the door, comes back in. And this is where things go sideways. So the pharmacist, who up to now has been doing everything fine, he goes back into a store, gets another gun. We'll see him wandering back into the view in just a moment. And then he goes to the robber that was on the ground and shoots him again as he's laying there. So here's an annotated version of this with a couple freeze frames. So here we see the bad guys clearly with the gun. By the way, only one bad guy has a gun here in the blue circle, but they're both committing armed robbery, so they can both be treated as if they're armed with the gun. The pharmacist starts shooting back. We can see one of the bad guys dodging, running out of the store. The other bad guy gets hit, drops right there. The pharmacist now pursues briefly, as we saw before. He's got his gun in hand. He pokes his head out the door, doesn't really pursue him any distance. This is all totally fine on the part of the pharmacist, using deadly defensive force against an armed robbery threat. Notice he walks past the robber on the floor, doesn't even look down at him, so doesn't perceive him as an imminent threat by any means, or he would have been keeping an eye on him. Instead, he goes back to the back of the store, returns with another gun, looks down at the robber, and shoots him again. It's that second shot that would get this pharmacist charged with a killing crime. I believe he was charged with murder. He was convicted of that murder, and now he's serving the rest of his life in prison. Not because he did everything wrong, but because he made that one bad decision of firing that extra shot when he did not need to, when the imminent threat had been resolved. You don't get to shoot people just because they've robbed you. You only get to shoot people if they're representing an imminent deadly force threat that you need to neutralize in order to save your life or the life of another innocent person.
Wow. There you go. Could have been a completely different outcome if you would have just let it go. Let it go. Call the police. Now, let me ask you this. This might not be what we should be talking about, but we're going to talk about it possibly anyways. Can you hold the other guy there at gunpoint while you call the police? I mean, you obviously can't hold him, but you could ask him to stay. I don't even know. Is he injured? Was he shot before? Why is he laying on the ground?
He was shot.
Okay.
So he was badly injured when he was on the ground. He was no longer a threat. But let's pretend that he was still capable of movement and verbalizing and might have tried to leave the store. Sure, there's a couple rationales you could use legally to keep him at gunpoint. One might be that if he's capable of movement, he may still be a threat, right? And you might keep him at gunpoint to prevent him from accessing a weapon or something along those lines. The other would be the making of a citizen's arrest. He just committed a felony in your presence. In most states, that's a sufficient basis to make a citizen's arrest, even one involving the use of deadly force, because it was a deadly force felony that he committed. But the practical truth is, folks, you don't want to be holding people at gunpoint. It's not a good idea. The only reason you'd hold them at gunpoint is because you believe they're dangerous. You believe they present an imminent threat to your life. You don't want to be in the company of that person. If you can encourage that person to leave, you're much safer if you can encourage that person to leave and leave it to the police with their bulletproof vests and their helicopters and their rifles and their dogs and their backup and their radios to affect the arrest of that bad guy.
Exactly. Great advice right there. The outcome could have been completely different. He made one. You might think it's a minor mistake, but it was a major mistake. And again, you're in a situation where your adrenaline's up. You're probably not thinking too clearly. A lot of it is reaction, and who knows. But unfortunately, he made a very big mistake, and it cost him the rest of his life in prison.
So I see a question here about someone wondering, well, maybe it was possible the person on the ground had a weapon and was trying to raise it, and that's why he shot him. If that had been the case, that would have been a lawful use of defensive force, no question about it. But there wasn't any weapon discovered on the second person, the person on the ground. So obviously, if no weapon was discovered, he wasn't trying to raise a weapon. Mm-hmm. And by the way, that could be true even, they could still be a threat if they'd had a gun and you don't see the gun anymore. But if you don't see the gun anywhere, it would be reasonable to infer it's still in their possession. You don't necessarily need to see the weapon if you have a reasoned basis for inferring that a weapon exists, like you just saw it in his hand. We'll see in one of the later videos another robbery where the bad guy essentially falls on his gun when he gets shot. We can't see the gun, but we know it's not out of his reach because it's not on the floor out of his reach, so we can make a reasonable inference he still has it. But unfortunately for the pharmacist in this case, he was not, in fact, responding to a still existing imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. He was adrenalized. He was probably pissed because they were just shooting at him, trying to kill him. He had successfully defended himself, and he was going to make a statement here. Unfortunately, that statement constitutes murder under the law, and he's serving a life sentence as a result.
Yep. Hey, Riley, if you could work on my lag of audio, I think that they're saying the delay is happening again. But anyway, we're going to keep going. I got a couple questions for you, Andrew. There's a couple people here asking, would this be a scenario? Could you, if you had a set of handcuffs, handcuff them or tie them so they couldn't leave? Or is that illegal for you to do?
So, again, under this circumstance, you could argue that that's justified as a citizen's arrest of a felon committing a crime or just committed a felony in your presence. So yes, you could justify handcuffing them under these circumstances, but I'm urging people not to do that. Don't do that. Handcuffing somebody is an extremely dangerous thing to do. It's one of the most dangerous things police officers do. They're trained extensively on techniques for handcuffing suspect. It's a skilled art. It's not just something you make up on the spot. And it's the most dangerous time because not only are you now approaching this dangerous suspect, but when you get that first cuff on and not yet the second cuff, you've just given them a weapon, a pretty vicious weapon that bad guys know how to use as a weapon. That free cuff is a very scary implement when it's used to cause physical harm, and you've just got the first cuff on. You've now armed that suspect with the loose end of that handcuff if they break free. This is just so dangerous. I have to discourage people from doing it unless absolutely necessary.
I'm going to try to get to all your guys' comments. There's a lot here. So I don't know if I'll get to all of them. But hey, let's play this next video. I'm going to look at some of your comments while you're watching this video. I'm trying to answer some of your questions. Again, if you need specific questions, we can cover those maybe on another episode. Email cts@lawofselfdefense.com. Real quick, let's watch this video, and you make the call.
So this is a liquor store robbery out of Missouri. We see the clerk here in the image. We'll see the bad guy come in from the right side of the frame, smoking a cigarette, and he's there to commit a robbery. He's got a gun in his right hand that he kind of conceals behind his body at first. Then he raises it. Give me all your money. Oh, you got a gun? I got a gun too. I think you better go home, sir. And he basically muzzles the guy out the door. Now, the first time I saw this video, I thought, man, that clerk is way more patient than me. He could have just shot this guy through the face. I mean, there's the gun. It's a deadly force-armed robbery. He gets his own gun up, and he could have just shot this dude right here. It would have been entirely lawful. So it makes you wonder, well, why didn't he do that? He was actually asked by the media that got a hold of this video why he didn't just shoot him. And what he told the media was, well, he didn't think that his life was in danger, which is kind of sketchy. By the way, this is how fast this happens, folks. This guy draws his gun in under a second from when he first, the clerk, when he first blocks the other guy's motion and gets his hand on his own gun and has the muzzle on the guy's face, 0.9 seconds. That's how fast these things go down. You think that this clerk has thought before about what he's ever going to do if he's a subject of an armed robbery? He's not thinking about it now for the first time. He's able to act decisively because he's thought through this scenario before. Now,
many times, I'm sure.
Many times. It may not even be his first armed robbery, but it's very concerning when he tells the media that he didn't think his life was in danger, because in order to be justified in pointing a gun in that guy's face, he has to have a subjective belief that his life is in danger. Clearly, on the facts, that would be reasonable for him to believe. But now he's telling everyone that he didn't think his life was in danger. Well, when we learn more about who this clerk is, we realize what he meant, the context. He's not just a clerk in a liquor store. This is a multi-tour combat veteran. He's killed people in combat. He's seen people killed in combat. What he meant was, when he had to make the decision on whether or not to press the trigger, here, when he was looking in this guy's eyes, at that moment, he didn't believe his life was in danger. He had the other guy's hand blocked. He had his gun on the guy's face. He could have shot him in something like a tenth of a second if he needed to. I'm sure that if that robber had tried to raise his pistol again, he would have shot him through the face. But in the moment he had to make the decision, he had the presence of mind to know that, well, I have the luxury of patience now. I've put myself in a dominant position. I'm going to take the risk of letting the guy walk out of the store rather than to have to shoot him in the face and kill him, because he believed he could do that with safety for himself. Had he shot this guy, he could have killed him right there, and it would have been an entirely lawful shoot.
There you go. I don't know how many people have that kind of patience, but boy, that takes some courage right there. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how many of you folks get a gun pulled on you and you just wait to see how it turns out and hope that he doesn't use it against you. Anyway, I was trying to read through all your comments, but we've got some things to tell you about real quick, okay? Andrew told me earlier he wants to give a free book to every single one of you. Is that correct, Andrew? Did you say you want to give a free book?
This book, we're trying a little experiment at Law of Self-Defense. This is a $25 book on Amazon. We sell a lot of them, folks, at $25 plus, of course, whatever the shipping and handling is. I think it's $8 or so. We want to give every single one of you a free copy of this book. Free. This is our best-selling book. You look at Amazon, 5-star rated, used by lawyers, judges, prosecutors. to learn the law of self-defense, as well as armed civilians such as ourselves. Absolutely free. So we do still ask that you pay the shipping and handling. It's about $8 and change, I think, but the $25 book itself is totally free, and you can order that just for the cost of shipping and handling at lawofselfdefense.com/CTS, which is the same place you would go to enter the raffle for the defense property course we'll be giving away. But if 1,000 of you or 5,000 of you or 10,000 of you order this book for free, no cost for the book, that's how many we'll ship out. But we're only doing this for a week. We're just doing it as a bit of an experiment. So if you'd like to take advantage of this opportunity, lawofselfdefense.com/CTS is where you want to go pretty promptly to make sure you don't miss out on this opportunity.
Okay, Andrew, I got a question here for you. If people want to buy multiple books, like Christmas is coming up here not too long right now, is it more for each book, the shipping, or does that? Do you know the breakdown if they ordered 5 books versus 1? More than 1 book for free. How's that work?
I guess I don't know how it works, to tell you the truth. But if they're interested in multiple copies of the book, like for gifts, we get a lot of people buying, say, 10 copies at a time to give to their family as gifts. I know we discount the price at least 50% just for that alone.
There you go.
So, but if that's what people are interested in, what I would encourage them to do is email us at cts@lawofselfdefense.com, and I can get it over to our support people, and they can contact you back and let you know how to take advantage of that.
Let me tell you what, you won't be disappointed that you spent the $0 on the book, okay? Because it's free. I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to appreciate it. You're going to get to know what you need to know, because just like Andrew says, you carry a gun so you're hard to kill. You want to know the law so you're hard to convict. What the heck is this that, thank you, by the way, Andrew. 200 episode yesterday, we're celebrating that, and he's giving everybody a free book. Every single one of you gets a free book. Just pay the shipping and handling. Please take advantage of this. It is, like he said, only goes on for 1 week. Don't hesitate. Do it now. Thank you very much, Andrew. It's very, very generous. That's for sure.
By the way, I see a couple people saying, well, they've already bought the book. Can they get their money back for the prior purchase? Sorry, folks, no. But if you already have the book, then you know how good it is. And maybe you have a loved one or a family or a friend that could benefit from knowing what the legal boundaries of self-defense are. And you can get them a copy of this book for free. You don't have to tell them it's free either. Tell them, hey, it's $25, but because I love you so much.
I don't know how you guys don't take advantage of this, but I sure hope you do. We've got more things to give away. I might be giving away one of these Second Amendment slings from Sly Tactical with the front and rear sling attachments. Looks a little something like that. That's because I'm an idiot, and Kevin told me to, as a I don't know, congratulations on 200 episodes yesterday, to give one of these with the sling attachments away, and I stupidly forgot because we gave away 50 prizes yesterday, and I told him I would do it today, so one of you is going to win one of those. Just make sure you stay tuned to the end. So we're giving away a sling. Everybody gets a free book, The Law of Self-Defense. You want to take advantage of that. Again, we've got more people here, Andrew. How do they get that free book?
Just point their browser to lawofselfdefense.com/CTS. Folks, I would type that into the comments for you for your convenience, but Facebook flags it as spam when I do that. So it's not that complicated. lawofselfdefense.com/CTS.
CTS stands for Calling the Shots. That's the show you're watching right now. lawofselfdefense.com/CTS. Get yourself a free book. Just pay the shipping and handling. Know the laws. If you're going to carry concealed, you should know the law. We got more videos. Let's get right to it. Here we go. Take it away.
So this one is a robbery in a cell phone store. Here's the clerk behind the counter. The bad dude walks in, and the robbery goes down right away. There's the gun. Bad guy gets distracted. Good guy also has his own gun, and he lights this dude up. There is brass flying everywhere. And in fact, I believe he shoots the slide lock. It looks like the gun's at slide lock right there. Grabs his phone, runs out of the store. So now we should have an annotated version here. with a bit of freeze frame. So we see the clerk. He catches the bad guy through the window, gets alerted right away, right? Escalates up the alert scale, gets increasingly concerned as the guy starts to come in the door. See his hand go into his hip already right there? Even he's not sure it's a robbery. He doesn't know yet. There's the gun. Now he knows for certain he's the victim of the robbery. The clerk, of course, is an idiot, gets distracted. That gives this guy the opportunity to get his own gun out. Folks, this is decisive. From getting his hand on the gun to the first shot he fires is 1 second, 1.0 seconds. You think he'd thought about this scenario before? He's not dawdling here. The moment he saw the bad guy distracted, he used that opportunity to draw his gun. He didn't draw it and then think about it. He didn't draw it and dawdle. He used it decisively in that window of time when he was facing an imminent threat. Now, of course, the notable feature about this particular case is he didn't just shoot the bad guy once or twice. He shot him a lot. Where's the bad guy's gun here? We can't see it, right? But we know it's not on the ground. We know it's not within sight. The bad guy had the misfortune to fall on his own gun. And when he fell on his own gun, well, that gun is effectively then still in his possession. And as long as he's got the gun, and is capable of movement, he's still a threat. And if you observe the bad guy on the ground while he's getting shot, he's moving the whole time. Now, maybe he's twitching in response to getting shot, but he's capable of movement. He's got a gun. He's still an imminent threat. It never looks good when you put a bunch of bullets into somebody because it kind of suggests there might have been some motive other than self-defense for firing all those rounds. But strictly speaking, the law allows you to continue to use force against that imminent deadly force threat until the threat has been neutralized. If this guy had dropped his gun and it flew across the room, no longer a deadly force imminent threat. But because he held on to the gun, whether intentionally or not, he remained a threat against which deadly defensive force could be used.
Yeah,
and this clerk smartly gets his butt out of the store, right? He vacates the area of danger, doesn't attempt to make a citizen's arrest, gets around the counter as quick as he can, remembers to grab his cell phone, gets outside where he called 911 immediately to let the authorities handle the rest of the scenario.
Distance is always your best friend in these situations. Create distance. Get away. That's always what I try to tell people is create distance. That's the laws we're talking about. Get your free book. All you have to do is go to lawofselfdefense.com/CTS. Calling the Shots is the name of our show. Free book, The Law of Self-Defense. All you got to do is pay the shipping and handling. Do it now. All of you should own this book. If you're going to carry a firearm and protect you and your family, you need to know the law. Why would you waste this opportunity? Get a free book today.
And by the way, folks, one of the reasons we do what we do at Law of Self-Defense is not just to help you win the legal fight, although that's, of course, the core focus. It's also to help you win the physical fight. We look at these videos here and we see how often people had to act decisively in self-defense. You have a second, maybe a second and a half to make that decision and act out your self-defense. You're not going to be making that decision on the spot in the moment. You need to have thought out these scenarios beforehand, decided what you're willing to do in self-defense under what circumstances. And to do that in confidence, you need to know that whatever your decisions are going to be, they're going to be lawful. You don't want to win the physical fight only to spend the rest of your life in jail. You're not going to figure out the legalities while you're staring down an armed robber's gun. You need to have learned that stuff beforehand so that if, heaven forbid, you're ever facing that deadly force threat, you'll know ahead of time because you've thought it through that your defensive strategy is as lawful as you could possibly make it. You can't know that if you don't know the rules of the game. And the rules of the game, the good news is they're not that complicated. Most people tell me it only takes them an afternoon to get through our book. And then they know, frankly, 80% of what I know about the law of self-defense. It positions you not only to win the legal fight, but to be able to act with confidence and decisiveness in the physical fight as well.
Absolutely. It's one thing to think about it once, but it's another thing and not to get obsessive about it, but you need to be thinking about these scenarios. You need to have a game plan. I always say that. when you're with your family, maybe you don't have a family, but those of you who have children, you should have a game plan, because you never know where you're going to be walking through, Walmart or whatever, and something goes down. Do you know what you're going to do? Do your kids know what's going to go on? Does your wife know what to do? Who's going to lead? Who's going to follow? What actions do you take? You need to have that plan. You need to think about these things. And not just be caught unaware, not know what to do and make a decision in the moment, because you're not going to be thinking clearly. Number one, you're going to have adrenaline pumping and everybody's going to be panicking, and you're hopefully going to try to stay calm. But if you think about these things and you know the law inside and out, and you probably want to read this more than once, you're going to get a free copy today, right now, at thelawofselfdefense.com/CTS. And you're going to read this, and then you might want to pick it back up in another month and read it again. It's amazing. Share it with your family, because you just need to protect yourself, and you want your friends to protect themselves. And you don't want these conversations going on like, well, I thought the law was this. It doesn't matter if you thought it was this. If it's not the law, it's not the law. It doesn't matter what you thought. You just need to know what it actually is. And protecting our families is why, ourselves and our families, why we carry, right? For that situation. Do you want to spend the rest of your life in prison away from your family? Probably not. So you probably had great intentions. I know it, but you might want to know the law, so that even when you have good intentions, you're not breaking the law and spending the rest of your life in prison for murder.
Yeah, there's some great points you make there, Nate. I mean, one is, nobody cares in court what you heard on the internet or read in the gun magazine or what your buddy the cop told you. None of that matters. The jury's never going to hear a word about any of that. All the jury's going to hear about are the jury instructions at the end of the trial, which are based on the actual law in that jurisdiction. If you don't know that actual law, you don't know what the rules of engagement are. And if you violate those rules of engagement, you don't get a break because you had good intent. Nobody cares about that. They only care whether or not your use of force was within the legal boundaries or not. The second great point you make is you need to think through this stuff not just by yourself, but also talk with your family about it, both in the tactical sense. If this happens, are you running away? You want to get your family safe, right? Maybe they need to vacate as quickly as possible. Is there a place where you guys know to meet up, for example? What if you have small children? What are your small children going to do? They can't just run away by themselves. But also, of course, in the aftermath of the fight. So a large part of what we talk about in this book, for example, is what you might want to say or not say to the police in the aftermath of a use of force event. And it's a pretty complicated subject. But even people who've thought that through themselves and have made decisions about what they might want to say or not say to the police, most of the ones I talk to have never considered that, well, they might be in the company of their family when this happens, and what should their family say or not say to the police? Because if you haven't spoken to your wife about this, for example, she has no idea what she should or should not be saying to the police. Because unless, of course, you got her a free copy of the book and she read it by herself at lawofselfdefense.com CTS/CTS. But you need to talk with your family about this stuff too, because it's very likely you'll be in their company when the flag flies, and then they are part of the necessary solution set.
Absolutely. And I think that another good thing to do is to talk about this with your kids. And sometimes it's not easy to talk about. And the thing is you also have to make sure they know what to do. Are they following mom? Hopefully mom doesn't abandon the kids and leave them on their own, and then you're covering them. Also, I think a scenario that's a good scenario to talk about, Andrew, I know you already have this in place, but what if somebody breaks into your home? Do your kids know? Does your wife know what to do? Do you know what to do? What's the steps and the procedures that you go about when you hear something in the middle of the night? And, whether you have dogs, and I know that's my best alarm. My dogs go nuts if a squirrel breaks a branch, like in the middle of the woods. Then they let us know. And that's your first alarm, or whatever your alarm system is. And then what's the next step? What do you take? And those are good things to know. And I love the point that you bring up, Andrew. Most people, the adrenaline's wearing off. They're in this daze. You're in this heightened whatever you're coming down of. It's almost like there's a drug going on in your head. You're maybe not even probably thinking straight because of all the things that are happening after the shock that just went on. And you might just start talking and saying things that you maybe not even happened. And so you really better know what to do after the fact. I mean, that is going to save your butt in the long
Right.
run.
So, I mean, one of the things we do in our live classes, our live law self-defense classes, is we bring a very high-end shooting simulator with us, a $20,000 simulator system, and we run the students through simulated self-defense scenarios where they have a little IR laser gun and stuff like that. And they have to watch a video, much like the videos we're watching here. It's clearly an artificial environment. There's no real threat. The video only lasts about a minute. And they have to make use of force decisions. And then after that minute, when the video's over, we ask them to explain to the class what they saw, what they did, and why they did it, what their legal rationale was. And you would be shocked at how much physical and mental stress these people experience from a 1 minute artificial video. The respiration is clearly elevated, their hands are shaking, and they can't remember what they saw. They can't remember what they did 1 minute ago. They can't remember. Or if they remember what they did, they don't remember the sequence in which they did it. Like, at what point in the video did you present the gun? We all watched them do it the first instant the video started, and they think they were patient. So it's because the way your brain captures and stores and recalls information under stress, under that tidal wave of adrenaline, is completely different than our normal experience, and you simply won't remember things correctly. There's a reason why police officers are typically given 24, 48, 72 hours before they have to make a formal statement after they've used deadly force against the suspect. It's because in that environment, everybody understands that you're not going to remember things the same way an hour after the event happened and 2 days after the event happened. I've talked to cops who've been involved in deadly force shootings who tell me years later they suddenly have a recalled memory about that shooting that they simply hadn't recalled until that moment.
This is a very, very true point. Trust me, I know firsthand. Me and one of my best friends were in a situation that was not awesome, and it's amazing 10 years later, because we really didn't talk a whole lot about it, but we talked about it, and I remember things he didn't remember. He remembered things that I didn't remember. We remembered certain events differently. It's amazing what happens inside of your head, and everybody kind of operates differently. So you have the same people in the same situation not remembering certain things and remembering different things and remembering them differently. It's bizarre, but it's the reality. So again, in the book, it tells you what do you need to do. Most people always say, like, well, don't say anything until you talk to your attorney, right? Well, that's great advice. Not always going to be the case, probably, even especially for kids, and they're nervous and scared, and they've got law enforcement officers there, and they're pulling them apart, and who knows what's going on. But it's always just good to just know and have a plan moving forward. And there's so many comments. I don't even know where to start and what to get to. We might have to go back later and answer some of these. And maybe we're just going to have to do a show where we just answer some of your questions. So maybe in the next week or two. But you got to email cts@lawofselfdefense.com if you have certain things you want to discuss. Frank Williams makes a comment, says if more good people carried every day, everywhere, bad people would less likely go into places and shoot because they would know that they would be stopped quickly. Well, it's a fine line there. Some of these shooters end up taking their own life. I don't know if they really care about that, but I will tell you, in my neighborhood area where I live, there's very, very, very low crime rate because pretty much every single person owns a gun or multiple guns and has no trespassing signs, and anybody would be absolutely crazy to try to break into someone's home, especially in the middle of the night, because there's so many people who own firearms. So you have a great point there when you're talking about your own personal home. I used to joke, leave my keys in my truck and my front door unlocked because I know no one's going to come in, because they would be really stupid if they did.
One thing I should mention is, folks, I personally carry a gun for personal protection every day. My house is armed. My wife knows how to shoot. I consider myself a Second Amendment absolutist, by which I believe that all gun laws that preemptively infringe the rights of law-abiding, mentally sound Americans to keep and bear arms are facially unconstitutional. I absolutely would not accept any mandatory government-required training to be privileged to carry a gun for personal protection. That said, although I don't think it should be required by the state as a condition of exercising your Second Amendment rights. If you don't do it, you're crazy. It's great for law-abiding, mentally sound Americans to get their concealed carry permits, carry a gun for personal protection of themselves, of the public, if it should come to that, but only if they do it right. If they do it wrong, it's a disaster. If they have a gross misconception about when and how they're allowed to use that gun, it'll undermine Second Amendment privileges for everybody, because it only takes a few lunatics with guns who think they're the law or think they're the savior of the entire world before it makes all of us look crazy. When we use our guns responsibly, we do nothing but add value to society. When they're used irresponsibly, even if with good intent, it looks really bad. So be responsible, folks.
Please be responsible. We have another video and another topic that I want to talk about that Andrew doesn't know, but we're going to talk about it anyways. So let's show this one video, and then I have to talk about something that's been out there, and it's in the news, it's in all over social media, and we'll get to that here in a second. But first, let's watch this one video real quick, and let's talk about it. Let's see if you guys could call the shots on this video. Let's see it.
Okay, this is a convenience store, obviously. These are two bad guys, two robbers. One guy kind of scouts the back there. They come back up into the counter. Here they initiate the robbery. They distract the clerk a little bit. You can see the clerk staring right at him. He knows these are bad guys. Here's the robbery. Guy can't get over the counter. He's got his gun out now. Hands up. Give me all your money. The second robber's got the loot bag. He gets over the counter. And here comes the security guard. Bang. Bang. Leans over. Bang. The bad guy's yelling that his gun is fake. Here's a good guy. Oh, well, mine is real. No kidding. Gets their hands behind their back, gets them to stand up. One of the bad guys goes, "Did I get shot?" Oh, bleep. Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Security guard tells him, "You got shot." Now look at this guy come over the counter. He looks like he's from an old Starsky and Hutch TV show. He just does a classy butt slide like across the hood of a car. There he goes. And he's got the situation well under control. So this will start again. There's got the bad guy's fake gun. It's amazing how many bad guys use fake guns. So here's kind of an annotated version of the same thing. Here are the two bad guys, of course. One of them goes around through the back of the store not to buy anything. He's looking to see if there's any other customers that might cause them trouble. That other customer could be you folks if you're a concealed carrier, right? Then the armed robbery goes down. Here's the clerk. You can see he's laser focused on these guys. He knows that they are bad news. He knows this is a problem. Almost certainly doesn't have a gun himself. But bad guy can't get over the counter. He's got his gun out right there. Initiates the armed robbery. Now, the clerk had a gun. Could he use deadly defensive force against both of these guys?
Yes.
The answer is legally yes, of course. Even though it appears only one of them has a gun, they're both committing an armed robbery. Here comes the security guard. As soon as he clears that door, he fires a shot. There's no verbal warning that he's about to shoot anybody. They tell him the gun's a fake. He shoots him again. They tell him the gun's a fake. He says, "Oh, mine's real. Too bad for you guys." Does it matter that the gun's a fake? Absolutely not, because you're allowed to defend against the reasonable appearance of the threat. If the gun's realistic enough to appear to be real, you can treat it as real. Do you have to take the bad guy at his word that it's fake? Absolutely not. Again, you're allowed to respond to reasonable appearances. When he comes in the door, does he have to order them to drop your weapons or hands up or give any kind of verbal warning before he can shoot them? No, they are an imminent deadly force threat both to the clerk and to the security guard. The moment he accurately and reasonably perceives that threat, he can act against it with deadly defensive force. No warning must be given at all. If they had been facing the clerk, the robbers, and their backs were to the security guard, could he have lawfully shot them in the back? Yes. It doesn't matter that they're not looking at him. He would be defending not himself in that scenario against them, but he would be defending the clerk, a defense of others scenario. They may not be facing him, but they sure are facing the clerk, so he could use deadly defensive force against them on that basis. By the way, this guy was in total control of that environment. We mute out the audio for language reasons and so forth. This guy was one cool cat. He just comes in, sees the robbery going down, solves that tactical problem. gets complete control over the situation. Frankly, these guys are lucky that they survived the encounter. The one in the blue jacket gets shot in the arm. The other one gets shot a couple times. They both survive. It's just a lucky break on their part. The guy didn't center punch him with those pistol rounds, which would not have been a good day for them. Bang, bang, bang. So no warning, no hands up, just perceived the threat, reasonably so, acted against the threat. Just a security guard, by the way. Look at that old school revolver, too.
I know.
That is a big, long handgun. Yeah.
At least. That's pretty cool. Well, wow. The moral of the story is don't rob stores. Period. You never know what's going to happen, but the good advice is just don't rob stores, for goodness sakes. Pretend that everybody is armed all the time. Act like it. That's always a good thing to probably just assume. You never know, right? Because I don't know how many of these videos today we saw, they came in thinking, oh, I'm going to rob these guys. And little did they know, it's going to backfire on them a little bit, their plan. So I want to remind everybody, if you're just tuning in, you're going to get yourself a free book today. All you got to do is visit the lawofselfdefense.com, lawofselfdefense.com/CTS for calling the shots. All you got to do is pay shipping and handling. That's a $25 value right there for free. Know the law, so you're hard to convict. Please.
By the way, Nate, I see somebody in the comments saying that the website's trying to charge them full price for the book. Folks, I just ordered a copy of the book on the website right now, and it only charged me shipping and handling. But if you run into some kind of glitch where it charges you for the book, you'll get a confirmation for your order. Just email us, cts@lawofselfdefense.com. We'll happily refund the cost of the book. So we're certainly not trying to trick anybody. And I can see on my phone the purchases coming in. They're all just the shipping and handling. So apologies if anyone ran into a glitch, but most of you should not be having any difficulty. So somebody asked here, what about if you're a concealed carry holder and this happens? Do you have a right to shoot the intruder in the back? Presumably they mean these armed robbers here. If you were in the back of that store, what would you do? This is actually one of the simulator videos that we do using our $20,000 simulator system. We have the student be put in the role of someone in a convenience store just coming out of the restroom, and they stumble upon an armed robbery in progress. What do? Now, there's a lot of choices. You could do nothing. You could step back into the bathroom and lock yourself in. You could engage the armed robber with your own sidearm. There's lots of stuff you could do. You could yell at him to drop his gun. And all of those choices have their own, pluses and minuses. The key is, if you don't know what the law allows, you won't know what's a lawful decision at the time. And again, I encourage all of you to think through these scenarios ahead of time. So if you're ever the person in the back of that convenience store, when that armed robbery goes down, you know what you're going to do. Maybe you're just going to draw your weapon and shoot that armed robber in the back, and that would certainly be lawful if they were threatening a clerk with a gun. Maybe you're going to draw your weapon and just hang back and not do anything unless there's an actual threat against you personally. Perfectly lawful decision. Maybe you lock yourself in the bathroom and you never end up drawing your gun at all. Perfectly lawful decision. But you don't want to be thinking through all those options in the crisis of the moment. You want to have thought through them today.
100%. Okay, so thank you guys all. I can't tell you how many people have ordered the book. Thank you guys, not for ordering the book, but for getting the knowledge that you need to know to be safe carriers. Like when you're concealed carrying, you have the knowledge, which is the power, and that's important. I think that it's a great gift, and everybody, it's just the knowledge. It's just so valuable. It's unbelievable. Thank you, Andrew, for all these free books. And then I got to give away the sling too, and the front and rear sling attachments. So don't let me forget to do that. But there is something I want to talk about, and it's in comments. Actually, it was brought up, and this is the exact scenario I want to talk about. Chad Jensen brings it up. I don't know how many of you have seen it. Probably a lot of you, because you can't go anywhere on social media without seeing it right now, right? This is the news broadcast of the robbery at the dollar store. Andrew, do you know this one? The dollar store robbery?
I see so many videos, I'll have to see it to know.
Okay, so what happens is a young man, goes into a dollar store, draws his firearm, demands money. The clerk says, no problem, I'll get you your money. After I shoot you and kill you, okay? He's good. Nothing wrong with that, okay? He was protecting his life. His brother and sister, mostly his sister, has a big freak out session on the news media saying, this is not cool. He should not have been carrying a gun at work. You know, I know my brother probably shouldn't have robbed it, but oh well, you don't have the right to shoot somebody just for robbing you. Okay? I don't know why the law says it's cool for you to shoot somebody if they're holding you at gunpoint, and people don't understand that. But I just can't believe these people go on there, and this is what the news is actually putting out there. I mean, you can see it. It's all over. I'm sure I don't know if everybody's seen it, but oh my gosh, I can't go anywhere or see anything without seeing this video or a link to this video. This woman so mad that her brother was shot because he robbed somebody and they were holding a gun. So
that brings up a great point, Nate. And one of the things I always caution people is, when you get involved in that confrontation, you've just incurred two risks you were not incurring a moment before. A greater than zero risk of dying in the fight, and a greater than zero risk of going to prison for the rest of your life. The risk might be low, but it's more than zero. And I always tell all my clients to be very cautious about being eager to prove themselves innocent at trial. If you go to trial, if I have to put you in front of a jury, there's a 5 to 10% chance you get convicted. And I don't care how innocent you are. And one of the reasons for that risk is people like this woman. You think she's eligible to sit on a jury? Probably. We have people are probably familiar with the phrase jury selection, which I hate because it suggests that I get to pick your jury. Folks, if I got to pick your jury, I would never lose a case. I have a modest ability to deselect jurors, to say, well, I don't want that juror on my trial, but I have a limited number of those options. And when I kick someone off, I don't know if the next person on the list is even worse than that person. So You don't know whose hands you're putting the rest of your life into when you get into these use of force engagements. You don't know what kind of decision making the police will engage in, what the prosecutor will do, what the judge will do, or heaven forbid, what a jury will do. So when you get engaged in these confrontations, you use force against another person, you incur that potential legal liability. You've just put the rest of your life in other people's hands. Now, sometimes it's worth it, right? If the alternative was dying or being maimed or getting raped or having that happen to one of your family members, then you take the legal risk. But that's not a very long list of things that are worth putting the rest of your hands in some hypothetical pool of jurors for. So I feel like I spend 90% of my time doing this, cautioning people, please do not get into fights you don't need to get into. The stakes are simply too high physically and legally. And 10% of my time saying, but you should know ahead of time if you are, what circumstances you're willing to fight under, so you can do it decisively and 150% and absolutely win that confrontation.
First of all, thank you, Andrew, for being here. And everybody just loves the show. And we're going to keep doing it every single week. So make sure you guys tune back in next week as well. Share this video. Please share this video, because one of you is going to win a free book and free shipping and handling. You don't even have to pay the shipping and handling, but we're going to give you that book for free, and we'll pay the shipping and handling if you share this video. Well, Andrew, I just want to cover a couple things I'm seeing here. There's a question asking, does this book cover all 50 states? If you want to define that.
It does. So the first 2/3 of the book is really an exercise in teaching you how to understand how self-defense law works. And we draw examples from different states' laws, different court decisions, and so forth. So you understand how the machine works. The last third or so of the book is a series of tables like this, where we summarize the self-defense law of all 50 states. I will say, having said that, to get you a really in-depth understanding of your state's self-defense laws, you can't really do it from a table, folks. That's just, in a book, we're limited to that kind of format. But we do have very in-depth instruction on the self-defense laws, defense of yourself, others, and property of all 50 states. We have a separate course for each of the 50 states that you can order from our website at lawofselfdefense.com. And that is the in-depth content that we teach in our live classes, that we teach lawyers and judges in our continuing legal education courses, and so forth.
There you go. So get the state-specific DVD that's specific for your state, as well as, by the way, you want to save 10%? Use the promo code AGHLOSD. AGHLOSD. Who's that? It's Alien Gear Holsters and Law of Self-Defense. We're partners, right? We're family. So we're hooking you up with 10% discount. That's on the state-specific DVD. It's on the Core Level 1 class DVD. That's an 8-hour DVD content. That's self-insurance explained. Also, it's defensive property DVD, I believe. The book, get a hat, all that stuff is available. Go to lawofselfdefense.com. Also, there's a raffle. You could win that DVD right there. Sign up. And then if you have questions you want answered, maybe next week we'll just take a few minutes at the end of each show and we're just going to cover some questions that you have. Email CTS, that's calling the shots, that's this show, at lawofselfdefense.com. If you have specific questions, we want to cover those as well. So we're going to give you an opportunity to ask the questions that you want answers to. Again, every single one of you gets a free book. You just need to go to lawofselfdefense.com/CTS. Get your book. It's free. Just pay the shipping and handling. It's a $25 value right there. Thank you so much, Andrew, for being here. We certainly appreciate it. We look forward to it every single week. I know a ton of people love this show, and we couldn't do it without you, and we also couldn't do it without the Alien Gear family. So thank all of you for being here, showing up, being loyal, and let's just continue to carry smart, because that's what you do when you read the book. You educate yourself, and that's what we should be doing. I've got to give away this sling to one of you lucky winners. Okay, this is the Sly Tacticals donated the Second Amendment sling with the front and rear sling attachments because of the 200th episode. I was fortunate enough to host my 200th live episode yesterday, and I forgot to give away this sling, and Kevin was like, come on, man, congratulations. You ought to give away one of these Second Amendment slings, which are available at Sly Tactical. And so we're also going to give another one away next month, but I'm going to pick somebody right now. Or Andrew can pick somebody if you want to, Andrew. I don't know if you're looking at comments there and seeing people's comments, if you want to do it random, however you want to do it.
Better for you to do it, Nate.
Okay, I'm going to have Riley tell me when to stop here on the wheel of Nate.
Spinning away?
I'm spinning away. Hopefully you're still here.
That person right there.
Boom. Brendan Kilrow. Brendan Kilrow, if you're here, you just want a Second Amendment sling and front and rear sling attachments from Sly Tactical, you want to direct messages here at Alien Gear, we're going to send that out to you. Again, as a reminder, folks, free book. Pay the shipping and handling is all. lawofselfdefense.com/CTS. Share the video.
By the way, Nate, I see a number of people are asking me about the mug, the Law of Self-Defense mug. So the story is I ordered the mugs, and we got them, and I discovered they were made in China. So I sent them all back. So now we've ordered mugs made in America, but we're waiting for the made in America mugs to arrive. I can assure you when they arrive, I'll let everybody know, and they will be available for purchase at whatever the reasonable price is for a coffee mug. But they are quite nice, I have to say.
Nicely done, Andrew. Y'all need to buy one of those once he gets them in stock again. But that's a good move, pal. Love that. All right, there we go. Brendan Kilrow, all you got to do is direct message us. You got yourself a sling. Share the video. You get yourself free shipping and free book. All you get a free book. You just got to pay the shipping. Sign up for the raffle. If you have questions, email cts@lawofselfdefense.com. Also, email videos if you have videos as well. We're always looking for content, and we're going to answer your questions. Next week, we'll take the last maybe 15, 20 minutes and answer some of your questions. So let's email that email address, please. Also, tomorrow is our raffle, which you're going to win. If you don't already know, you're going to win something from the Law of Self-Defense. It is the state-specific DVD. That's what you're going to win tomorrow. Just make sure you're signed up at aliengearholsters.com. glock.com/contest. There's a bunch of other cool prizes. We're also giving away a Glock for Glocktoberfest. So, and a shoulder holster that looks like this. And a bunch of other cool stuff. So make sure you sign up there as well. Friday, I got to remind you, we are not doing a live show on Friday. What we've done is gone into the range. We had some fun, some gun fun. We carved some pumpkins, and we're going to put you out there doing your own homework. We want you to upload some things, and then maybe one of you will win a free holster. But make sure you tune into our Facebook page. We won't do a live show on Friday. We're just going to post the video. So over the weekend, you can view that video, share that video, put your comments on that video, maybe your pictures and some video, and you will win a holster. That's it. And then we'll be back next week with Andrew on Wednesday for Calling the Shots. Andrew, thank you so much.
My pleasure. And as always, I just want to remind everybody that you carry a gun, so you're hard to kill. Know the law, so you're hard to convict.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Make sure you get your free book, and we will see you tomorrow for the raffle. Thank you for being here. From all of us here at Alien Gear, we want you to carry safe, carry in comfort, carry on.